Good afternoon, Justin, Equine Edge. All right, we're gonna make this quick though because I'm out here watching baseball. District 9 tournament. A couple of good teams playing, but Redmond West playing Mercer Island. We are down 1-0 though, so we are top of the fifth inning. But what a day yesterday! Great daily double there. Speed on the turf was really, really good, right? So I think there's some angles today, similar situation, but not quite the same, I would say. But I think there's some angles. There's my ticket. We'll talk about the single. I think you can find some prices. We'll talk about them. Um, Obviously, you're gonna have a lot of people singled here in race 5. Fully entitled, gonna be even money, if not shorter. You got to make a decision in this race. You're gonna single, you're gonna spread. What are you gonna do? I'm using two. I'm gonna single later. I think the 3 and 5 duel, in all honesty, I think the 1 or 2 can sit the trip on the dirt here. It isn't out at 8,000 claimer, non-winners a 2. And on the race sim, the 1 and 2 get up. I think it's one of them. That's the way I see it. I don't really want to use much more than 2 there because I thought the sequence was a little difficult. So you're going to have to find an area, but it might chalk out in that first leg. So I think you got to make a decision there. All right, race 2. I thought this was one of the tougher races. I thought I was wide open. I ended up having I was 6'4", 153. 6'4" on top. I thought all had a look. When you look at Torres and D'Angelo on Spy Hunter, getting back, I think here from the pace, it's shown the ability to stock 2 back. I think can sit the trip. That was a 58. Today's a 56. They are going 7.5. But I thought really fit good there. But again, I thought this leg was pretty wide open, not a huge opinion. So I spread, and it's a competitive race. All right, race 7, tough maiden 12-5 claimer. I mean, you got a 0 for 18 horse here. This is the top Scotty pick that actually has a shot, but I'm going against, right? So I thought I have Bubbles Up on top. I thought Bubbles Up. I thought about being a single, in all honesty. I thought Bubbles Up also might be a single. So you could single there maybe if you wanted to. I think in a race like this, there's a lot of speed with the 7 and 10 up front on the Tapeta, and I think Bubbles Up can sit the trip. You see the big GSR increase, right? So you see that going from 38 to 56. That's 18 points on the GSR and dropped 6 points on the SOR. And you got Jose D'Angelo just behind the lead with Joseph. So I thought, again, might be a single here at 7-2. So that would be, a potential there. The 5 off the pace makes sense. And I thought Chica Blue might be the speed up front over the 10, but the 10, the long shot. I'm against the 0 for 18 horse. I can't bet Fluffy. So from that perspective, again, might play the 4 there as the single for me, or we'll talk about the 2 would be the other one. So, all right, race 8. Oh, tough one. But Matty R on the front end. We did it yesterday. This time you get Mr. Murat up above for Safi on the turf. This horse might wire the field, Matty R. I mean, this is a competitive race, though. Starter optional claim. There's others in this group, but you can look, nearly wired the field there in a 68-2 back on the dirt and then on the turf, and now stretching out. But the GSR says just fine going 2 churns. So I wouldn't really see that there's much of an issue for Matty R. I think, 2 turns on the turf and been sprinting predominantly here. And I think we'll get to 2 turns. Safi Mirage just beautiful on the front end. Just like Edwin yesterday, he does a great job riding on the front end. So you cannot leave the 7 off your ticket. I think you got to have it. You got to have it. I mean, a lot of people are going to love the 5. Zaya, Safi coming off the pace, the speed. But again, remember the rail at 59 feet. It's not easy. You cannot just come flying, but Maniar might have a little bit of pace to deal with, but could get loose. Really could. So that would be another area. I thought about singling again. Race 7, maybe race 8 there. And then race 9 is actually where I kind of ended up. Is Emmett, and this is a tough race, and that's part of the thing where, maybe I would single in race 7 because this is a race where you might need coverage. If I didn't single here, I'd be 2-1-4-5 and would be singling back in race 7 on the 4 horse, right? So the 4 horse here bubbles up, maybe a single, and then here I'm singling Emmett. You see the 5-2 on the E morning line, but here's what I really like about Emmett. Gets to the Tapeta for Jose D'Angelo. I think Safi and Jose are going to win a lot of these races here in the pick six sequence, is my opinion. So, he gets back to the Tapita, has been on the turf, but you see the GSR increase back to 60, and you see the 5-2 E morning line, not in the picks, but that's okay. This race is fairly open. I mean, it's 8,000 claimer on the Tapita, and I like the move back to the Tapita. You see, many of these have been running and not getting there, right? Only have 2 wins. They don't like to win, but Emma only has 10 races for Jose D'Angelo, and you get that big morning line. Thanks, Scrat. I appreciate that. That was an amazing sequence yesterday. It's a tough one today. So that's where I landed. I think if in this race you're going to need a handful if you don't single, and then we'll talk about the last, and I'm gonna let you all go because I'm gonna get back to watching this game. So, Aquarium Pass, speed on the turf could be lone speed, Mr. Amicio Jaramillo. I mean, do you single there? I mean, we singled yesterday. We started off with the 1 and 2 in the first leg, and then we singled the 2 in the last. I mean, could it happen again? I mean, great potential. I think that it can, but I used others here. I thought this race was really tough for a 35,000 claimer. I wanted to try to get the single there in Aquarium Pass. I think you could. There's a lot of ways to single here. So I thought it was a tough sequence. But I ended up landing there on the race 9. And then, as I mentioned, if the other option that I would play this would be, I would look to single Bubbles Up here. It would be the other option. And then I would be, what I say, 2-1, 2-1-4-5, I think here if I played it different. And then that's going to be a little more expensive, though. It'd be 160 if you single Bubbles Up. So Bubbles Up here in race 7, maybe Emmett in race 9. And again, I think the 2 on the end stuff, but there's potential there. Amicio might get loose. That would be the other place, and then you could spread there in race 7 and single in the last. So, all right, that's some horses to use. Good luck. I appreciate you all for playing Churchill Downs, Gulfstream Park. Good luck in these pick sixes, mandatory. We'll be back later this week. Chat soon.